Hi and welcome to this CCS Insight Predictions Week interview with Marc Allera, CEO of UK operator EE. Marc, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Kester.
Let's talk about the launch of 5G standalone for the consumer market just a few weeks ago. Obviously an important technology milestone, but also perhaps something that's difficult to articulate to customers. And I wonder, how do you plan to go about that? And in particular, I note that you've decided to charge a premium for 5G standalone. What's the thinking behind that? Because other operators haven't taken that approach.
Yeah, these big technology launches are always a challenge, I think, in bringing them to life for consumers. 5G had its moment a few years ago, and I think we all, as an industry, really struggled to get the benefits across of 5G, and arguably we probably overhyped the technology and under-delivered on the promise. But I do think 5G SA is a very, very exciting piece of technology. It is the real 5G, a standalone network delivering the real promise of 5G in terms of faster speeds, better capacity, lower latency, enabling products and services like AI and cloud gaming and all the other services that we can't even predict yet. You may have some predictions, I'm sure, in your event in terms of what people are going to be using these great networks for. So our belief is it is and can justify a premium for sure, particularly in the early years. And why not? This is a faster, better network. People will be prepared to pay just a few pounds more for a better experience. That's how we're going to be structuring it in our tariff portfolio. And then the really tricky bit is the marketing execution. How do we talk about 5G SA in a way that doesn't sort of put the technology first, but really puts the consumer first and their needs first? And that's what you'll start to see with our marketing campaigns launching over the coming days and weeks.
Okay, we'll keep a watch out for that. You mentioned just now AI, clearly the big topic in technology circles this year, and of course we've got plenty of predictions around that this year ourselves. I think on the network side, there's understanding how AI can really help improve that, but actually you're positioning perhaps AI as a means of selling more devices and more airtime. Why is that? Because not everybody understands AI, do they?
No, I think the consumer sort of vaguely understands what AI is and that it might be good for them and help them to be more productive. But I think that awareness is going to build over time, and we really are at the foothills of the AI revolution at the moment. And it's a bit like the time when the web browser was first launched and people were sort of imagining what the internet might do and where search might go, or the launch of the iPhone. We are at the very beginning of the adoption of this technology. So my personal view is that over the coming months and years, as new software releases come on AI devices, the consumer's going to get their head around the fact that they're going to need to replace their smartphone, their laptop, their tablet, and any other device that they're using to make sure that they don't get left behind in this AI revolution, because it is going to cut out time, make you more productive, help your work life, help your personal life. So it is going to start creating, I think, a real cycle of upgrades of devices. We're not necessarily going to see that immediately, but as the awareness builds and the software and services and applications build, I think that is going to start happening. And one of the things I would say is the software releases will and could become as anticipated as new hardware, and that would be a real change, I think.
Let's stay on the topic of AI, and we have a prediction this year that come 2026, a leading telecom operator announces that almost all of its customer interactions are some way touched by AI. And I wonder about your feelings around this. Obviously, we hear a lot about AI, in particular generative AI, supporting customer care. How impactful can it be, and to what extent perhaps could it complement or even replace human agents, for example?
Yeah, it's a fascinating prediction. How you'll be able to measure it, who knows? But for sure, I mean, we've been using AI for years in our business, and I know other telcos have, for service interactions, for automating a lot of processes that were manual and dealing with customer problems before the customer even realizes that they've had an issue. And so we see the technology being much more widespread as it gets smarter and smarter, and we're containing more and more of the customer journeys through AI rather than it creating more calls, which can sometimes happen if it's not tuned properly. But I see across network operators and businesses like ours, every part of our business being touched by AI in some way, whether it's running the network more efficiently, service more efficiently. I think your point on humans, I see it very much as I love the term co-pilot, that it helps our people do some of those manual tasks in faster ways, can eliminate some of the admin that gets in the way of them getting to the customer problem and solution first, and can help us really benchmark what great sales and service people look like and how we can replicate that in our training and coaching and guidance for all of our teams. So I see it very much as a helping hand for our people, rather than some of the more negative headlines that you might get about AI.
Yeah, an aid rather than a replacement.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Another big topic this year in our predictions is eSIM, and in particular the market for eSIM roaming, where we've seen a lot of providers come along, such as Airalo and Holofly and Nomad. And we have a prediction as well around some consolidation in this market and potential acquisitions, maybe even involving a telecom operator. I wonder what your thoughts are around the eSIM roaming market, Mark, and perhaps whether that offers an opportunity or a threat to someone like EE.
Well, I think there's a reason why some of these brands are popping up and getting a bit of traction, and that's because we and others perhaps haven't fulfilled that need, and that's what we've got to focus on, is how can we fulfill the need of the consumer when they're traveling, or whatever other use cases that may well come from eSIM. And that's what me and my team will be obsessing about and making sure we deliver on over the coming months. And for sure it means the marketplace will be more competitive, more open, easier to switch, but that also represents an opportunity as well as a threat. We believe with a great brand, great service, great network, fantastic propositions, whether it's 5GSA, Wi-Fi 7, some of the recent stuff we've launched, plus the whole wrap that we provide, it's also an opportunity for customers that may have had a barrier to switch in their heads, to come down and move across to our network and try, and hopefully we can attract them to do that and stay with us. So it's an opportunity and a risk at the same time. And as I said, the reason why some of these brands are popping up is because we and others perhaps haven't addressed those needs for the consumer, and that's what we've got to do.
I read recently that EE is now advising against selling smartphones to under 11s, and this really struck me, not just as a parent to a 10-year-old, but also from a company that obviously has a business based around selling phones and airtime. So I wonder, how did you get to this decision, and why now?
Yeah, this has been something that's been building for some time. I think in our building amongst our colleagues, really, we ship more smartphones, I think, than any other operator, certainly in the UK and probably across Europe on the larger brands. And we feel we have a responsibility to help people, because it's a very complex world to navigate as a parent. I know, as a father of 3 myself, trying to navigate and give advice and explain to my children, what the great things about the internet are and the things to be worrying about, and when should one give them a smartphone, and with all the tools or some of the tools. I think it's for parents. I think it's an incredibly complex world to navigate, this one. And of course, schools are also really wrestling with this challenge, and we're seeing every day a different school with a different position. So we felt it would be helpful for parents and helpful for the children as well. And of course, our colleagues, our guides, who are often asked by parents and children for advice on this topic, that we provided some clearer guidance. It's certainly got a lot of pickup. I think it's got some real momentum building, and I think it's a really important topic that we and others need to lean into and help both parents and children navigate this very complex online world.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic position to take, and I really applaud the stance, and hopefully others in the industry will follow suit. Mark, we're getting towards the end, which can only mean one thing, and that's that time where I'm going to ask you if you've got a prediction to share with ourselves this year.
Yeah, I would say, building on the guidance for smartphones for children, we see very much handset manufacturers, platform providers, network operators, and other stakeholders really dialing up the focus now on guidance and implementation of tools and services and training and guidance for parents and children, really step changing from where we are today, which was some helpful guidance being a systemic way in which parents and children go about buying those first smartphones and tablets and laptops, and giving everyone a helping hand so they know what they can and can't do with them.
Fantastic. Well, a great prediction. We'll definitely keep a watch out to see if that comes true. And I understand you've got another prediction as well, Mark.
Yeah, so switching topics completely from guidance for smartphones and for children to gaming. It's such an important media. it's a mass market media now, bigger than music and film. And of course, we as a network operator get to see the trends as they're happening on our network, and it really is a mass market activity. But this rise in cloud gaming, I think, is really going to start accelerating now. So this will mean that you won't need a game console in the future, because the network power and capability, whether it's full fiber or 5GSA, will mean that the power sits in the network, and that means you won't need a device to do your gaming. So I think gaming, like you sort of consume films on Netflix, is really going to start powering up, and the need for a console reduces. And I think that will really start opening up that market. And of course, network operators play a hugely important role in helping enable that change, as we will with the switch to TV and other things.
Absolutely. Fantastic opportunity for operators, and be great to see how this plays out. Marc, once again, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Wherever they are, keep them connected with unlimited data. Join EE1.